Hi, um, peace to you. So, I've been called today to make this video and just sort of do an energy update, but also talk about a few perspectives that have been stimulating my mind as of recently. So, as we know, there's so many shifts happening in the atmosphere and in the levels of reality right now. And there's a lot that's going on that's challenging us to shift our perspective from one thing to the other and to place ourselves into a paradigm of thought that is only defined by the fact that it is a collective one. So I'm here to tell you that that is not the way to go. I'm here in this video to tell you that you need to think for yourself and be a sovereign person, sovereign thinker. And that's probably the most important thing of this entire video, but I'm going to get into a lot more. So, one thing that we need to understand for this entire video and for just being human in general is that the shift from 4D into 3D is what creates reality. So this can happen on a collective level and on a personal level. Now, when we put ideas into the public's head, and when we put ideas, well, first of all, I'll start with the personal level. So when you put an idea into your head of a certain timeline, that's going to manifest because you are acclimating yourself to that particular timeline. And so then your DNA and your brain chemistry and the very fabric of your reality is actually going to shift towards that image and towards that idea of what you are envisioning in your head. Okay, so if you are putting a program into your mind, that program is going to manifest into reality. So that's how magic works. That's how a lot of spiritual practice works. When you want to bring something about into your life, you will often say a mantra, or you'll write down what you want to manifest, or you'll put something on your mirror, I don't know, just different reminders of how you want to wake up and perceive your life. Now, on the collective level, this shift occurs through programming. It occurs through media. It occurs through group ideologies, group beliefs. And the more that these things are propelled and the intentions behind certain messages in the media and in propaganda and just in ideologies, that will determine the nature of the reality that it creates. So a lot of people talk about predictive programming, and they talk about the ways that if the media puts a certain image in our head, it's actually gonna, sorry, there's a plane. But if the media puts a certain image into our head on a collective level, we are all going to digest that image into our subconscious, which will then create that reality for us all, for a collective. Okay? So, I don't know if you remember, but there was this whole realization that The Simpsons predicts everything. And yeah, like they predicted that Donald Trump would become president. They predicted 9/11. They predicted a lot of things. And I'm not saying what happened or what the intention was, but I'm saying that just certain things like that, where there's a certain image that everyone is consuming, there's a certain timeline that everyone's mind is plugged into, then that is actually going to create that for everyone. Okay? So that's why sovereignty is actually very important. And that is why we need to realize and we need to learn how to identify certain occult meanings and stuff in media and in just various forms of propaganda, information, things that people say to you, different group dynamics, communities, and the list goes on forever. But sovereignty is going to be number one because you, at the end of the day, are your own creator of that reality. So if you follow a certain person on YouTube, on Instagram, on TV, wherever, in real life, you have someone who you identify with and you agree with 100%, you're probably going to want to reconsider that, and you're going to want to actually sort of vet everything that they say and pass it through a filter. Does this resonate with you? If not, let it go. Don't actually allow it into your system. And if it does resonate, that's great. Either way, you have to just realize that it's coming through a filter. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, and you have to move on. You can't just accept something because someone you like said it. Okay. So yeah, that's the effect that belief systems will have on us, no matter which side that we are on. Now, the main topic of this video is going to be about a video or a series of videos that I have watched over the past few days. Now, someone in my Discord server, Crystalline Collective, if you want to join, I'll put the link in the description. But someone in that server, actually, Yeppy, he linked the video called "Is Trump a Lightworker?" and by Lori Ladd, and I'm going to link that in the description too, just so that you can take a look at that. And obviously that was a very controversial video, but it got a lot of views, and it's gotten a lot of people discussing this, and I just think it's really important to include my idea on this and my personal perspective, because it's one thing for one person to say something and share their perspective, but I think that the reason why it's so popular and the reason why it's such a hot topic in this community is because this is the time where we are supposed to be opening a discussion about what is this, what do we each think, and how can we bring this into our everyday conversations, our everyday thoughts, just to engage that. Even if we don't even if we don't agree with it, even if we do agree with it, doesn't matter. What matters is that we are actually engaging it from a neutral perspective, and that is what I'm here to do right now. So, I did agree with some parts of her video. She mainly talked about how it's okay, it's actually good for us to look at someone from a neutral perspective and not just create a bandwagon and a train to jump on to hate someone, and to feel feelings of just visceral fear and anger and just low frequency emotions towards a certain person, because that's not fair. Would you want someone else to treat you that way? No. So, do I agree with everything that he's done? No, I'm not a political person. I don't really concern myself with that stuff, which I'm going to get into that later. But I did agree with her saying that Donald Trump has changed the way we perceive a presidency, and he is changing the way that we perceive what is the government. He's actually putting a pin. He's actually disturbing the way that we see government, because up until now, all of the presidents and all of the paradigms of government, of the executive office, really have just been the same thing. It's been the same paradigm, but just the illusion, some people think, of having two sides. Now, do I think that Donald Trump is taking a side? I don't know. I mean, he obviously ran as a Republican. Was it because he wanted to get more votes, or was it because he genuinely is one? I don't know. I don't really have that research on me right now. But he definitely is changing the way that we perceive the system of the presidency. And that's true. Whether it's in a bad way or a good way, it's true. And that part I do agree with. Now, when she said that he was questioning the media and actually asking the citizens of the United States to look at the media in a way that's questioning them and saying, okay, is everything they tell us true? Are we just supposed to automatically accept what they say as truth? And are we supposed, like, the way that the media is divided into two halves, that is not okay. That's not good. I haven't personally seen Donald Trump speak up against that, but hopefully he does, because he has a lot of viewers and a lot of followers. And I think it's important that we actually look at a neutral way of neutralizing that energy of, okay, left or right, Democratic or Republican. We need to actually move into a neutral space. So questioning various forms of deep government agendas. So I haven't seen too much of this, but that's something that Lori mentioned in her video too, was that Donald Trump questioned the deep state and different various forms of deep government that have agendas that are not public to the rest of the country and the citizens of this country. Obviously, that's something that I have looked into. That's something that I actually sometimes believe in, because the way that, like I said, the media is split, it's so polarized, and that's definitely on purpose. There's no way that the media and the way that our country is divided between the left and the right, there's no way that that's just a coincidence. That's definitely been done on purpose, for the purpose of manipulating people's thoughts and for the purpose of creating duality where there should not be duality. Okay, so, and then exposing corruption, that's another thing that she mentioned, that Donald Trump exposes corruption. I don't know. I'm not very researched on that particularly. So one thing that I wanted to bring up in this video was the problem that some of us deal with of conflating politics and pop culture with spirituality and ascension. Now, if you have a certain ideology about anything, particularly politics, that, in my opinion, should not really have anything to do with your spiritual ascension. It shouldn't really have anything to do with your presence, your heart center, your consciousness, your awareness. Obviously, there are certain occult and esoteric dynamics happening in the media and in politics that we need to be aware of. But I think that taking a certain political narrative and taking a certain political scheme and ideology and then making that your identity, whether or not you think it's spiritual, whether or not you think it's ascending your consciousness or not, I just personally, in my opinion, I don't think that's very healthy. Because spirituality, especially ascension and starseed stuff, all of this high frequency channelings that we all love to talk about and indulge in, that's all neutral. That is all presence. It's all awareness, consciousness at the end of the day. And when it comes to following certain narratives of whether it be conspiracies or just ideologies about politics, or whether or not Trump is a light worker, I think that should be separate from our spirituality. This should be our spirituality, and this should be our presence and our center and our awareness and our meditation and our ascension into our higher self. And this should be current events this should be politics, this should be public figures. It should be a separate thing, in my opinion. I just don't think that conflating them into your identity is healthy, and I actually think that it's probably bringing you further away from the goal, because the goal, in my opinion, for the New Age movement is actually to be neutral, to be centered, and to be peaceful. To be peaceful and to just be present whenever and wherever, whatever's happening to you, you hold on to that presence and you hold on to that heart space, and that's it. And so when you align yourself with an ideology, especially maybe if that Trump is a light worker, again, I haven't said whether or not he is or isn't, I don't really know. I'll get into that a little bit later. But when you conflate spirituality and ascension with politics, with following a movement of, whether it be a spiritual movement or political movement, anything, it's going to be harder for you to keep your center. It's going to be harder for you to maintain your spiritual independence. Okay? You have to maintain your spiritual independence no matter what. Even if you agree with something, you have to take it into your soul and your spirit. Like I said, the filter. If something resonates, bring it through. If it doesn't, leave it. But you can't be operating without a filter. That's just not going to work out. Like, you just can't operate taking everything in just because you identify with the person who said it. That's not going to work. So, in terms of Lori's video and is Trump a Lightworker, she mentioned in her video, I think it was towards the end, where she said that Donald Trump is a light being, a high frequency light being who has been placed into a body named Donald Trump. Now, that to me is a little bit problematic. I think that putting a public figure, putting anyone on a pedestal, be it a spiritual pedestal, an emotional pedestal, a social, money, it doesn't matter. If you're taking a person in popular culture and in the public eye, and you're saying that they are anointed, they've been blessed, and they have this channeled energy in them that we should all trust just because they have that, that's not healthy. That's like actually where corruption starts. Okay? And now, does that mean he's not a light worker? I mean, I don't know. I'll get into that in a little bit. But we've seen with Beyonce and like Madonna and other public figures where they actually depict themselves in shows, in media, and music videos as deities, as actual deities from actual mysticism and actual pantheons from certain culture. And that is a little bit problematic because we should not, that actually goes against sovereignty. And I'm not saying that Lori was particularly saying that Donald Trump is, you know, this big savior, this ascended master that we need to all follow blindly. No, she actually said a lot in her video that we need to use discernment, and that she actually appreciates and loves us no matter how it resonates with us, which is great. So I'm mainly just saying this because I want the viewers and I want just people in general to be aware of the repercussions and the actual occult dynamics behind putting a deity and putting just a public figure in the place of a deity and of a high frequency individual. Okay, high frequency being. Now, that can actually manipulate the consciousness of people. That can manipulate the consciousness of the public. Now, when Beyonce like shows up on stage and she has a queen, like a tiara, and she's like dressed as Nefertiti, that actually has occult significance, because in society we actually look at celebrities as deities, as the way that ancient civilizations would look at deities. And in my opinion, that's a little bit problematic because we're actually taking away from our own spiritual sovereignty by submitting to that idea that someone else is just higher frequency, that someone else is, oh, like, this person has been blessed with this energy, this channeling, the life force of this deity, so we're going to listen to them blindly, and we don't actually get to think for ourselves. And so when Lori said that, obviously I know that it wasn't her intention, but for someone who's not educated in the occult, to watch that video and to listen to her say those things about Donald Trump, about how he is a being who's been channeled and blessed with this energy from high frequencies, and he may not know it, but he actually is a light worker, and for that reason we should all follow him and trust him. That's not good. Like, we don't need to just subscribe to that automatically. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into, do I actually think he's a light worker? In my opinion, light workers have to be self-identified, and they have to actually awaken to an identity of being a light worker and being a high frequency channel. Now, I think that if he is one, he probably isn't going to share that. I don't know. I mean, I feel like he's aware enough of the way that he comes off to the public that he's very likely not going to just admit that to anyone that's not actually well versed in that stuff. So I haven't seen anything that he's done actually spread light in a way that would remind me of a light worker, a starseed, a Reiki healer, an ascended person. I just haven't really gotten that energy from him. But I would say that he probably has to be a self-identified light worker in order to actually be one. If he has that program, if he has that DNA, then that's one thing. But we all have light worker DNA, and we all have high frequency DNA. It's just a matter of, have we awakened to that, and have we taken that into our identity, and have we actually had to work to learn about our soul? Okay, have we actually had to work to learn about our ancestry and about our soul's lineage, be it here on Earth or somewhere else or another universe? It doesn't really matter. I think that we have to awaken to that, and I just haven't really seen it, but my mind is open, so that's part of, I'm trying to practice what I preach. Obviously, when Yeppy sent that video in my server, it took a few days for me to really conceive and perceive, like, okay, wait, what is this? Like, what type of video is this? I thought Lori Ladd was, I thought she was a spiritual person. I thought she was neutral. I thought she was, I thought politics didn't really have anything to do with that. Like, I had all these judgments coming in to my head. But in the end, like, I understand now. I watched the video, and sometimes that's just what you have to do. Like, you have to challenge your belief systems. You have to look at your own thought processes and say, okay, wait, what about that? Let's question that. Let's challenge this. Let's look at this under a different light. Let's research this and actually maybe change my opinion. So yeah, that's what I think of this. And I watched Phil Good's video on this too, and a lot of what he was saying was that we don't need to just hate someone collectively just because it's popular, and I agree with that. I think that we owe a certain respect to every single other human being on this planet, no matter what they've said, what they've done, who they are, what they represent, who likes them, who doesn't like them, whether or not you like them. It doesn't matter. Like, if they're a human being, you need to just respect them as that, and then you will get that respect back, because it's a cycle. Like, it comes back to you. That's how energy works. But that's basically my thoughts on this issue. Let me know what you thought. You can follow me on Instagram at crystalline.collective, and you can also join my Discord server. I'll put a link to the invite in the description below. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this resonated with you.